Welcome to the gorgeous Chinese coastal city of Dalian, where we've come to drive the all-new A7. No, not the Audi, the Galaxy A7, a mid-sized sedan with a starting price of less than 14,000 US dollars and what might very well be the most efficient plug-in hybrid powertrain on the planet. The people at Galaxy tell me that this is going to be a global model, but they're not specific as to which markets outside of China it's going to be sold in, so we certainly don't know the price outside of China. Right now we know the pre-sale price in the domestic market, which is about $13,700 to $18,700 US dollars. That price and this size puts it in very direct competition with another vehicle that debuted last year with some pretty crazy fuel economy claims, the BYD Qin L. Now, we took the Qin L on a 1,000 plus kilometer road trip to put those fuel efficiency claims to the test, and I recommend you check out that video. The thing about cars in this mainstream mid-size sedan segment is that they need to appeal to as many buyers as possible. And those buyers are looking for things like practicality, affordability, and probably not avant-garde styling. That's why you get cars like the Toyota Camry, the Honda Accord, and the BYD Qin L, which are handsome, I suppose, but not particularly out there when it comes to their looks. This car is no different, but I think it's kind of the best you can hope for. It looks conservative, but handsome, and in the right spec, even a little bit premium. Speaking of cars like the Toyota Camry, the man behind the camera insists that this thing, from this angle, looks just like the Toyota. What do you think? This car's length is about that much longer than a BYD Qin L and about that much shorter than a Volkswagen Passat, but its wheelbase at 2.845 meters is longer than both of them. Wheel options include 17, 18, and these top-of-the-line 19-inch units. It's only appropriate, since we're in the parking lot of a shopping mall, to talk about how many bags you can fit in the back. Well, the answer is 535 liters worth with the seats up. If you fold them down, they're a 60-40 split, you can get up to 988 liters of your favorite consumables. The interior styling of the A7 is just as conservative as the exterior. The leather is faux, but soft in most of the places where you want it to be. I will say, however, I wish that this center armrest was a little bit more padded, as well as this area here where I would rest my knee on the highway, which I did quite a bit today, and I found it to be not quite as soft as I would like it to be. The other materials, well, they're plastic, but that's kind of what you'd expect at this price point. The dark material you find in this interior here on the center console, as well as on the door and the dashboard, is actually quite interesting. At first, I thought it just looked like piano black plastic with streaks on it, like handprints, but then I looked more closely and it's actually got a very subtle wood or smoky pattern to it. It's quite nice when you look more closely at it. It's not soft or premium, but again, that's what you can expect at a car this cheap. Final note when it comes to material choices. On the dashboard, on the left and right side, you've got these little hex screw things. These look exactly like the mounts that Xiaomi puts in their cars, like the SU7 and the U7, but in the case of this car, it's merely a decoration. But while this car might not hold that many surprises when it comes to material quality, it is very impressive when it comes to interior features. For example, the base car has a 14.6-inch center screen, but this top-spec one has a 15.4-inch screen, which runs the Flyme OS. This is the same operating system we've seen on a ton of other Geely-branded vehicles from Lynk & Co., as well as Galaxy, as well as Geely itself. It is smooth, it is quick, it is good when it comes to the menu logic. Sorry, there's currently no English language menu available, so you'll have to make do with the Chinese one, but I hope you can understand at least why I think this thing is pretty attractive and easy to use. You also have an instrument cluster screen right here and an available 16.6-inch heads-up display. That is available on higher spec cars like this one. Finally, you have a 16-speaker Fly Me sound system. That thing costs an extra 8,800 RMB, or the equivalent of around 1,200 USD if you want to add it to a higher spec vehicle, though it is standard on this highest spec model, I do believe. Now, that is a lot of money to ask for a sound system on a car that is this cheap. It does, however, include a bunch of speakers, as I said, 16 of them, including 2 mounted in the driver's headrest. The most surprising feature, in my opinion, however, is the seats. They are heated and cooled, something I've seen on other cars at this price point, but they're also massaging, something that's rarer. What I've never seen in a car at this price point is that both front row seats have massaging points, not just on the seat backs, but on the seat bottoms as well. And they're not that weak sauce airbag that just goes like boo and barely kind of pokes you. These are real physical kind of motors that are going up, and you can really feel them. They're quite effective. That was pretty surprising at this price point. Interior ergonomics are pretty nice. You've got a wireless charging pad right here. You've also got your cup holders right behind a set of physical buttons for your air conditioning controls, as well as a physical volume knob. Always and forever appreciated. Below all of that, you have more storage underneath the center console. Finally, back here, you've got a pretty deep storage compartment, mostly because this doesn't have a refrigerator. Finally, I want to talk to you about something that I've never seen before on any other car. This is a glove box. I've seen glove boxes before, don't get me wrong, but what I haven't seen is this pretty nifty little fold-out hook right here. So that way you can hang a bag or maybe something else right here whenever you want to, and when you don't need that feature, you just fold it back away. The back seat of the A7 is pretty capacious in certain dimensions, such as leg room, as you can see. I also quite like the height of the seat with respect to the floor. As someone who reviews a lot of pure electric vehicles, I'm used to floors that are super high, which means your knees are right about up here. Not a very comfortable posture. Speaking of your posture, the angle of the seat back's pretty acceptable, I would say. However, I'm not super impressed with headroom. It's not tight on me. I'm 1.75 meters or 5'9" tall, but it could get a little tight for people who are much taller than me. I think this was an active compromise that they made. Making the seat height a little bit higher means that you have a better posture because your knees aren't that far from the seat, but it does mean you might have a little bit less headroom. Between the seats is a fold-down center armrest with cup holders, not a guarantee in cars at this price point, and on the back of that center console are dual USB charging ports, a Type-C and a Type-A. The greatest mission, the number one priority for vehicles in this class is, of course, efficiency in all aspects, and that's especially true when it comes to fuel efficiency. This vehicle also makes some pretty bold claims, as we've already established, when it comes to efficiency. Specifically, they say that its CLTC fuel economy, when you've depleted the battery and it's acting as a normal hybrid, is 2.67 liters per 100 kilometers. That beats the 2.9 liters per 100 kilometers that earned the BYD Chinel such attention globally. It also beats the combined range of the BYD Chinel. They say this car, when you combine gas and electric range, can go over 2,100 kilometers on China's CLTC cycle. Achieving that level of efficiency starts with the 1.5-liter naturally aspirated engine, which they've connected to a 1-speed dedicated hybrid transmission. They say that engine has what is currently the world's highest thermal efficiency for a production engine at 47.26%. That beats the BYD Chinel, and it beats the pants off of the latest Toyota Prius. Most of the motivation from the car, however, comes from the single front-mounted electric motor, which makes 175 kilowatts and 262 newton meters of torque. The official 0 to 100 kilometer per hour time is 7.1 seconds. Yes, it beats the 7.5 seconds of the BYD Chinel. However, it doesn't match the 6.3 seconds of a Prius. It gets back to beating the Prius when it comes to drag coefficient, which is 0.229 versus the 0.27 of the latest Toyota Prius. That's very important when it comes to pure electric range, obviously. This thing has two available battery packs, both LFP. The smaller one is 8.5 kilowatt hours and has a claimed CLTC range of 70 kilometers. There is a larger pack that is 18.4 kilowatt hours and it has a claimed range of 150 kilometers. You can choose to put the car in hybrid mode or pure electric, depending on whether or not you have enough battery for that particular task. Alternatively, you could simply leave the decision up to the car by putting it into its intelligent hybrid mode. That would actually be leaving it up to their Thor AI, which is going to decide which mode, pure electric or hybrid, to give you based on demands like the terrain, your driving style, and other factors. To put it in simple terms, Galaxy claims that this car, if driven properly, would be cheaper to commute to work in than simply taking the subway. I want to say, however, I have not achieved that level of efficiency today. I'm currently sitting at 6.1 liters per 100 kilometers. I think there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, I haven't been trying to drive particularly efficiently. I've got a big lead foot, actually. Second of all, our route was a lot more highway than it was city. And those standards, like 2.67 liters per 100 kilometers, achieved on the CLTC standard, which in here in China includes a lot more city stop-and-go traffic like I'm in right now. I do, however, know media that I know and trust who have been able to achieve some pretty impressive fuel efficiency numbers behind the wheel of this car. Putting aside fuel efficiency for a moment, I do think this car is outright better to drive than the BYD Qin-L. That one's great for eating up highway miles. It has a very decent, soft ride, but this feels more athletic, particularly on the front end. It feels lighter, more tossable, and the steering feels like it has better feedback and more direct connection to what's happening to the wheels. So of the two cars, and granted this is a pretty low bar, I think this is the one with more driving pleasure involved. Even the very cheapest version of this car, one that starts at less than $14,000 US, comes with adaptive cruise control as standard, but more expensive versions like this one, the very top spec, they come with a much more comprehensive sensor suite, which includes more cameras, as well as ultrasonic and millimeter wave radar, and an upgraded chipset, specifically a Horizon Journey J6M with 128 tops. That means that they're capable of highway NOA. As for the performance of that highway NOA, I would say it's pretty much in line with every other Geely product that I've ever used, in that it's not particularly great. I would put it firmly in mid-pack along with brands like BYD. There are better performing systems than this at this price point, particularly the Xpeng Mona M03. In terms of what it does wrong, well, what it does right is a lot of stuff. It's perfectly fine for when you're trying to go on an empty highway with not a lot of other cars, but as soon as you get into very heavy traffic situations, it's hesitant to pass trucks, it's phantom braking, it also allows for too great of a distance between you and the car in front of it. It's just not particularly conducive to use. These days, it seems like Geely's strategy is to take whatever BYD is doing in any given segment and do the same thing, only slightly better. That's certainly the case with this car in the BYD Qin-L. It's slightly more efficient, slightly higher performance. Heck, it's even got a 10 km/h faster top speed than the BYD. This is, of course, what every automaker should do, try to outperform their rivals, and frankly, it seems to be working for Geely in their brands. They've got a string of highly successful models over the last couple of years. If history is anything to go by, I think this might be their very next successful model, and one that is going to give a lot of trouble to that BYD Qin-L. All right, thank you so much for watching today's video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and as always, check us out on our social media platforms. Link in the description below. See you next time.